1. We're taking a closer look at a real gem from the past, a 1971 Ford Thunderbird with the rare Brougham package. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $7,500, and let me tell you, it's a steal. First off, let's talk about the exterior. The paint job and the vinyl gator skin top are in excellent condition, giving this classic a sleek and stylish look. However, it's not all perfect. The front bumper has a cut in the metal, and the rear valence component is missing. But hey, that's just a minor detail that adds to the car's character, right? Moving on to the interior, it's overall in good shape. Sure, there are a few cracks in the dashboard and some tears in the headliner, but that's to be expected in a car that's over 50 years old. The best part? The original matching color interior and hopsack cloth seats are still intact, giving you that authentic vintage feel. Now, let's talk about what really matters, the mechanics. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 429 CU Thunderjet engine paired with a Holley Performance carburetor and a Flowmaster exhaust. This baby is running strong, and the seller even has receipts to prove all the mechanical work that's been done. Plus, the tires are relatively new Hancooks, so you won't have to worry about replacing them anytime soon. But, as with any classic car, there are a few things that need some TLC. The electrical system could use some work. The turn signals are hit or miss, and turning on the high beams causes all the lights to start flashing. The interior dashboard lights work, but they can be a bit temperamental, and the power windows don't roll down. But hey, that's all part of the charm of owning a vintage ride, right? Overall, this 1971 Ford Thunderbird is a fantastic find for any car enthusiast looking for a classic with character. It may not be perfect, but it's got a lot of potential, and with a little bit of work, it could be a real showstopper. So, if you're in the market for a vintage ride that's sure to turn heads, don't miss out on this opportunity to own a piece of automotive history. 2. We've got a real treat for you, a true survivor from the golden age of American luxury cars. This 1974 Cadillac Eldorado, currently listed on Craigslist for $12,150, is a real gem that's been cherished by the same family for decades. First things first, let's talk about the mileage. This beauty has only 28,000 original miles on the odometer. That's right, you heard me correctly. 28,000 miles. It's been garage kept for most of its life, and it shows. The white paint is still shiny, and the interior is like new. The white leather seats, door panels, and even the steering wheel insert show no signs of wear. The carpet and rubber floor mats are also in pristine condition, with only minor discoloration from age. Under the hood, you'll find a massive 500 cubic inch V8 engine that starts and runs perfectly, all the time. The car is equipped with all the standard Cadillac options of the era, including power windows, power seats, power locks, tilt and telescopic steering wheel, power antenna, and power trunk. It even has an 8-track player that still works. Now, as with any classic car, there are a few minor issues to note. The air conditioning isn't working due to a leak in the system, and the clock only works sporadically. The seller's aunt mentioned that the clock has been that way since the 80s, so it's likely just in need of a good cleaning. The rear plastic fillers are also being replaced due to age-related crumbling, but the seller has new pieces painted and ready to go on. What really sets this Eldorado apart is its history. It's been passed down through the same family, from the seller's grandfather to their brother, and now to them. The car comes with all the original brochures, keys, and even the original Protecto plate in the seller's aunt's name. There's also a logbook that the seller's brother kept since 2001, detailing all the work that's been done on the car. The seller is only parting with this beauty due to health reasons that make it difficult for them to care for the car properly. They want to find it a good home where it can be preserved and appreciated for years to come. In summary, this 1974 Cadillac Eldorado is a true survivor with an incredible history. It's a rare opportunity to own a piece of American automotive history in such well-preserved condition. If you're looking for a classic luxury car to add to your collection or simply to enjoy on weekend drives, this is definitely one to consider. Don't miss out on the chance to make this beauty yours. 3. We've got a real treat for you. A 1985 Ford Mustang GT convertible that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $9,000. And let me tell you, it's a deal you don't want to miss. First off, let's talk about the specs. This Mustang is powered by a 5.0-liter V8 engine that's paired with a 5-speed manual transmission, giving you total control over the car's performance. It's also got a 2.73 Posey rear end, which means you'll have plenty of traction when you need it most. The exterior of this Mustang is finished in a sleek black paint that's sure to turn heads. The convertible top is in great shape, and the car comes with all of its factory parts, including the original hood. The seller also mentions that there are many new parts included in the sale that haven't been installed yet, so you'll have plenty of options for customization. Inside, you'll find a charcoal leather interior that's in great shape. The car has power everything, including windows, locks, and seats, making it a comfortable and convenient ride. The seller mentions that this was a special order car, and it even comes with a Marty report to prove its authenticity. Now, the seller does mention a few things to keep in mind. The car is in daily driver condition, which means it's not a perfect show car. Everything works, but the air conditioning needs to be vacuumed down and recharged. That's a relatively minor issue, though, and it shouldn't deter you from considering this car. Overall, this 1985 Ford Mustang GT convertible is a fantastic find for any Mustang enthusiast. It's got a powerful engine, a sleek exterior, and a comfortable interior, all for a price that's hard to beat. The seller is firm on the price, and they won't respond to questions about availability, so if you're interested, you'll need to act fast. If you're in the market for a classic Mustang that's ready to hit the road, this is definitely one to consider. With its combination of performance, style, and affordability, it's sure to be a hit with anyone who loves American muscle cars. Don't miss out on the chance to make this beauty yours. 4. We've got a real treat for you, a 1978 Pontiac Bonneville that's been lovingly maintained by the same owner for almost 13 years. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $6,500 or best offer. And let me tell you, it's a deal worth considering. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Bonneville. The seller mentions that it's clean both inside and out, which is a testament to the care and attention they've given it over the years. With just 70,182 miles on the odometer, this car has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find a gas-powered engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. The seller notes that the car runs and drives great, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're considering a classic car like this. Now, it's worth noting that the seller doesn't provide a ton of detail about the car's specific features or any recent maintenance or upgrades. That's not necessarily a red flag, but it does mean that you'll want to ask some follow-up questions and probably schedule an in-person inspection before making an offer. The asking price of $6,500 seems reasonable for a well-maintained classic Bonneville like this, especially given the seller's long-term ownership and the car's overall condition. However, the seller does mention that they're open to best offers, so there may be some room for negotiation if you're serious about making this car yours. Overall, this 1978 Pontiac Bonneville seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American sedan. It's got a clean title, a gas-powered engine, and a history of long-term ownership and maintenance. While there are still some questions to be answered about the car's specific features and recent history, it's definitely worth a closer look if you're in the market for a vintage Pontiac. If you're interested in making an offer on this Bonneville, be sure to reach out to the seller soon. Cars like this don't tend to stay on the market for long, especially when they're priced competitively and have a strong ownership history. With a little bit of negotiation and some careful inspection, you could be the proud new owner of this classic American sedan in no time. 5. We've got a real gem for you, a 1976 Chevrolet Monte Carlo that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,000, and let me tell you, it's a car that's worth a closer look. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Monte Carlo. The seller describes it as a clean, unmolested Chevy, which is music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. The car is all original, which means it hasn't been modified or altered from its factory specs. That's a big plus for anyone who values authenticity and originality in their classic cars. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 motor that the seller says runs strong. They've even given it a fresh tune-up, so you can be confident that it's running at its best. The car also has cold AC, which is a must-have feature for anyone who plans on driving their classic car in the summer months. Inside, you'll find a few creature comforts that make this Monte Carlo a joy to drive. It's got power windows and a tilt wheel, which are nice touches that make the driving experience a little more comfortable and convenient. Now, there are a couple of things to keep in mind with this car. The odometer shows 85,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age, but it's still something to consider. Additionally, the title status is listed as salvage, which means that the car has likely been in an accident or sustained some kind of damage in the past. However, the seller does note that the car has a clean title now, so it's possible that any issues have been resolved. Overall, this 1976 Chevrolet Monte Carlo seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American muscle car. It's got a strong engine, cold AC, and a few nice features inside. The salvage title is something to keep in mind, but if the car checks out in person and the price is right, it could be a great addition to any classic car collection. If you're interested in making an offer on this Monte Carlo, be sure to reach out to the seller soon. Cars like this don't tend to stay on the market for long, especially when they're in good condition and have a lot of original features. With a little bit of negotiation and some careful inspection, you could be the proud new owner of this classic Chevy in no time. 6. We've got a real treat for you. A 1982 Lincoln Continental Mark VI Signature Series coupe that's in absolutely stunning condition. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $11,900, and let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to beat. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Mark VI has only 31,500 miles on the odometer, which is incredibly low for a car that's nearly 40 years old. It's a testament to the care and attention that its previous owners have given it over the years. The car is finished in its original light pewter paint, which is in excellent condition. The seller notes that this is a Southern Survivor car, which means it's never seen any rust. That's a huge plus for anyone who knows how damaging rust can be to classic cars. Under the hood, you'll find a 5.0-liter throttle body V8 engine that's recently been given a fresh tune-up using all Motorcraft parts. The seller has also done a coolant flush and thermostat replacement, as well as changing the rear differential fluid and installing new hood and trunk struts. These are all signs of a well-maintained car that's been loved by its owners. Inside, you'll find a luxurious leather interior that's in great shape. The seller notes that the air conditioning does work, but it will need to be serviced for a Freon leak. That's a relatively minor issue, though, and it shouldn't deter you from considering this car. The seller is upfront about their reason for selling. Recent health issues have made them realize it's time to let this beauty go to a new home. They note that this car is a whole lot of classic value for the money, and I couldn't agree more. With its low mileage, excellent condition, and recent maintenance, this Mark VI is a rare find that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind. The air conditioning issue will need to be addressed, and it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic give the car a thorough inspection before making a purchase. But if everything checks out, This Mark 6 could be an incredible addition to any classic car collection. Overall, if you're in the market for a luxurious, well-maintained classic coupe, this 1982 Lincoln Continental Mark 6 is definitely worth a closer look. With its low mileage, excellent condition, and recent maintenance, it's a car that's sure to bring its new owner years of driving enjoyment. Don't miss out on the chance to make this beauty yours. 7. We've got a real beauty for you, a 1973 Pontiac Grand Prix that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This second owner car is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $9,195, and let me tell you, it's a deal that's hard to beat. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Grand Prix has approximately 138,000 miles on the odometer, which is pretty reasonable for a car that's nearly 50 years old. But here's the real kicker. The motor was rebuilt around 40,000 miles ago by the previous owner, and they even added a mild cam for a little extra oomph. That means you're getting a car with a strong, reliable engine that's ready to hit the road. Speaking of the engine, it's a 400 cubic inch V8 with a 4-barrel carb, which is paired with an automatic transmission. The seller notes that the car has a newer radiator, power steering, brakes, and battery, which are all great signs of a well-maintained vehicle. The exterior of the car has been repainted at some point in its life, and while it may not be a show-quality job, it still looks great from the photos. The interior is also in pretty good shape, with a great headliner, dash, and seats. The seller does note that the trunk pan and weather stripping could use some attention, but those are relatively minor issues that shouldn't deter you from considering this car. But here's the real testament to the quality of this Grand Prix. The seller says they would drive it across the country tomorrow without hesitation. That's a bold claim, but it speaks to the confidence they have in this car's reliability and performance. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind. The mileage is a little higher than some collectors might prefer, and the paint job may not be perfect. But for a second owner car with a rebuilt engine and a price tag under $10,000, this Grand Prix is a real gem. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic American muscle car that's ready to hit the road, this 1973 Pontiac Grand Prix is definitely worth a closer look. With its strong engine, solid interior, and confident seller, it's a car that's sure to bring its new owner years of driving enjoyment. Don't miss out on the chance to make this beauty yours. 8. We've got a real piece of American automotive history for you. A 1969 Buick Skylark Custom with a 350 V8 engine. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $9,000 cash or trade, and while it may need a little TLC, it's definitely worth a closer look. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Skylark. The seller notes that it's all original, which is a big plus for anyone who values authenticity in their classic cars. However, they do mention that it needs some minor bodywork on the passenger side front fender. From the photos, it looks like there's a dent or some damage in that area, but it doesn't appear to be anything too major. The rest of the car looks to be in pretty good shape, considering its age. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 V8 engine, which is a classic Buick power plant. The seller doesn't provide any details on the engine's condition or recent maintenance, so that's definitely something you'll want to inquire about if you're serious about making an offer. The odometer shows 104,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. Of course, it's always a good idea to verify the accuracy of the mileage with the seller and through any available documentation. The seller notes that the car runs and drives well, which is a good sign. However, as with any classic car, it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic give it a thorough inspection before making a purchase. This can help you identify any potential issues or maintenance needs that may not be immediately apparent. One thing to keep in mind with this Skylark is that the seller is only accepting calls, not texts or emails. They also mention that they're open to trades, so if you've got something interesting to offer, it might be worth reaching out to discuss. Overall, this 1969 Buick Skylark Custom 350 V8 seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American muscle car. It's got a few minor issues, but nothing that seems insurmountable for a skilled enthusiast. With its original condition, low mileage, and strong engine, it's a car that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. If you're interested in making an offer on this Skylark, be sure to give the seller a call soon. Cars like this don't tend to stay on the market for long, especially when they're priced competitively. With a little bit of negotiation and some careful inspection, you could be the proud new owner of this classic Buick in no time. 9. We've got a real beast of a machine up for grabs, a 1965 Ford Mustang that's been built for the drag strip, but is still street legal. This hot rod is currently listed on Craigslist for $14,000, and let me tell you, it's a car that's sure to turn heads and drop jaws wherever it goes. First off, let's talk about what's under the hood. This Mustang is packing a built 331 stroker engine, which means it's got some serious power. The seller doesn't provide any specific numbers, but trust me, this thing is no slouch. It's also got a built C4 reverse valve body transmission, which is perfect for launching hard at the drag strip. But this Mustang isn't just about straight line speed. It's got a 4-link tubbed rear end with a 9-inch 430 rear gear, which means it can handle corners too. The seller does note that they'd be willing to switch to a 373 gear if you want to daily drive the car, which is a nice touch. Other performance upgrades include a line lock for easy burnouts, a 6-point cage for safety, and a 15-gallon fuel tank in the trunk. The car also has a 750 brawler race carb that's just been gone through, so you know it's ready to rip. Now, let's talk about the condition of this Mustang. The seller admits that it needs paint, but they also say it looks cool the way it is. From the photos, it looks like the car has a bit of a patina vibe going on, which some enthusiasts really dig. The interior looks to be in good shape, with racing seats and a full cage. The seller notes that the car has no major leaks or problems, which is always a good sign. Of course, as with any modified car, it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic give it a thorough inspection before making a purchase. One thing to keep in mind with this Mustang is that it's definitely not a car for the faint of heart. It's a purpose-built machine that's designed to go fast and look cool doing it. If you're looking for a comfortable daily driver, this probably isn't the car for you. But if you want a street-legal drag car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you hit the gas, this Mustang is definitely worth a closer look. Overall, this 1965 Ford Mustang is a real gem for any enthusiast who loves the thrill of the drag strip. With its built engine, performance upgrades, and cool patina vibe, it's a car that's sure to stand out from the crowd. If you're interested in making an offer, be sure to reach out to the seller soon. Cars like this don't tend to stay on the market for long. Who knows? You might just end up with the hottest ride on the block. 10. We've got an absolute gem for you. A 1955 Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Coupe that's sure to make your jaw drop. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $13,500. And let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Oldsmobile. The seller describes it as non-molested and pretty much all original, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. The only thing that's been replaced are the seats, but everything else is original and in fantastic shape. The seller even notes that there's no rust issues, just a little surface rust, which is pretty incredible for a car that's over 65 years old. Under the hood, you'll find a 324 rocket motor that runs like a dream. The seller has recently replaced the fuel pump, water pump, windshield wiper motor, and battery, so you know it's been well maintained. And with new tires, this car is ready to hit the road and turn heads wherever it goes. Inside, the interior is like new, which is a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. It's got all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a top-of-the-line Oldsmobile, including power steering, power windows, and even a power seat. The seller notes that everything works, which is pretty incredible for a car of this age. Now let's talk about the rarity of this Oldsmobile. The seller notes that, while you might see an 88 once in a while, a 98 is a much rarer find. And with all its original moldings and trim pieces intact, this car is a true time capsule. It's the kind of car that will make other classic car enthusiasts stop and stare when you roll up to a show or cruise in. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind. The odometer has rolled over, so the actual mileage is unknown. But given the fantastic condition of this car, it's clear that it's been well maintained and cared for throughout its life. Overall, this 1955 Oldsmobile 98 Holiday is an absolute stunner. With its original condition, rare find status, and recent maintenance, it's a car that's sure to bring joy to any classic car enthusiast. And at $13,500, it's a steal, compared to what you might pay for a similar car at an auction or dealership. If you're in the market for a classic American luxury car that's sure to turn heads and make you the envy of every car show, this Oldsmobile is definitely worth a closer look. Don't miss out on the chance to own a piece of automotive history. Give the seller a call and make this beauty yours today. 11. We've got a real treat for you, a 1973 Mercury Cougar that's sure to get your engine revving. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $3,000, and while it may not be in perfect condition, it's definitely worth a closer look. First off, let's talk about what makes this Cougar so special. It's a Q-code car, which means it was originally equipped with a high-performance 351 Cleveland V8 engine. But that's not all. The seller has replaced the original engine with a rebuilt 1970 429 Thunderjet, which is an absolute beast of a motor. Paired with a C6 automatic transmission and dual exhaust, this Cougar is ready to roar down the road. But this car isn't just about power. It's also got plenty of creature comforts. It's equipped with power steering, power brakes, air conditioning, power windows, and a tilt steering wheel. The interior features bucket seats and a console, giving it a sporty feel. And with dual mirrors and antennas, it's got all the classic Cougar styling cues you'd expect. Now, let's talk about the condition of this car. The seller notes that it's in good condition, with original paint that's never been wrecked. The odometer shows 100,000 miles, which is pretty reasonable for a car of this age. Of course, as with any classic car, there are likely to be a few imperfections and signs of wear and tear, but overall, it seems like this Cougar has been well maintained and cared for over the years. The seller also notes that the car runs and drives great, which is always a good sign. Of course, as with any used car, it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic give it a thorough inspection before making a purchase. This can help you identify any potential issues or maintenance needs that may not be immediately apparent. One thing to keep in mind with this Cougar is that it may not be the most practical daily driver. With a big block V8 engine and classic car styling, it's definitely more of a weekend warrior or show car. But if you're looking for a classic muscle car that's sure to turn heads and put a smile on your face every time you hit the gas, this Cougar is definitely worth considering. Overall, this 1973 Mercury Cougar seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American muscle car. With its rebuilt engine, creature comforts, and original styling, it's a car that's sure to stand out from the crowd. And at just $3,000, it's a bargain compared to what you might pay for a similar car at an auction or dealership. If you're interested in making an offer on this Cougar, be sure to reach out to the seller soon. Cars like this don't tend to stay on the market for long, especially when they're priced so competitively. With a little bit of negotiation and some careful inspection, you could be the proud new owner of this classic Mercury in no time. 12. We've got a real gem for you, a 1984 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 that's been lovingly cared for and upgraded by its current owner. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $5,500, and let me tell you, it's a lot of car for the money. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Camaro has only 31,347 miles on the odometer. And no, it hasn't rolled over. The seller is only the third owner, and the second owner drove it less than 1,000 miles. That means this car has been babied its whole life, and it shows. The interior is in great shape, with the seller calling it perfect, aside from a few small mold spots on the headliner. But don't worry, the seller is including a brand new headliner with the car, as well as a complete T-top and hatch seal kit. The power windows, door locks, and mirrors all work, and the trunk solenoid operates normally. The only real issues are a stuck driver's side seatbelt retractor and a non-working power seat switch, but those are minor problems in the grand scheme of things. Now, let's talk about the engine. The seller has done almost everything you can do to a 305 to add power, without actually removing it from the car. We're talking trick flow heads, roller rockers, dyno Dawn exhaust, and more. The cam is still in the break-in period, so you'll need to do a few oil changes in quick succession after purchase, but that's a small price to pay for the performance upgrades. The exhaust is a real standout feature. It's 3 bars all the way back, so people will hear you coming from a mile away. But don't worry, it's surprisingly comfortable volume-wise inside the car, and there's no awful drone thanks to the single exhaust. The transmission and rear end are mostly stock, with a 3.23 open rear end. The brakes are new all around, except for one caliper, but the seller notes that they still aren't great. That's something to keep in mind if you're planning on driving this car hard. As for the body, it's almost entirely straight, with just a few small dings here and there. The original owner was apparently very fond of buffing the paint, so it's pretty thin in most spots, but probably salvageable. The seller is also including a bunch of extra parts in the sale, including a cold case aluminum radiator with electric fans and a wiring kit. They'll also include any of the old parts they took off that you want and still have, as well as any new parts that they took too long to return. Overall, this 1984 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 is a fantastic find for anyone looking for a classic muscle car with some modern upgrades. It's got low mileage, a great interior, and a ton of performance potential. And at just $5,500, it's a bargain compared to what you might pay for a similar car at an auction or dealership. 13. We've got a real piece of American automotive history up for grabs. A 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle with just 48,000 original miles on the odometer. This beauty is currently listed on Craigslist for $6,150. And while it may need a little TLC, it's definitely worth a closer look. First off, let's talk about the history of this Chevelle. It was originally purchased from Lubbock Chevrolet dealer back in 1966, and it's been in the same family ever since. The current owner is the granddaughter of the original owner, and she's selling it because grandma can't drive anymore. That means this car has been cherished and well maintained by the same family for over 50 years, which is pretty incredible. Under the hood, you'll find the original 327 engine with matching numbers. That's a real rarity in the classic car world, and it's a testament to how well this car has been cared for over the years. The engine is paired with a Power Glide automatic transmission, which was a popular choice back in the day. Inside, the car has all the classic features you'd expect from a '66 Chevelle, including roll-up windows and an FM cassette player. The AC and heater both work, which is a real plus for a car of this age. The seller does mention that the car needs a little TLC, but they don't go into specifics. From the photos, it looks like the interior could use some cleaning and maybe some minor repairs, but overall, it seems to be in decent shape. Now let's talk about the price. $6,950 is a pretty fair asking price for a '66 Chevelle with this kind of history and original features. Of course, as with any classic car, there are always going to be some unknowns and potential issues to address. But if you're handy with a wrench and have a passion for classic American muscle, this car could be a real gem. One thing to keep in mind is that this is a four-door model, which is less desirable among collectors than the two-door version. But that also means it could be a more affordable entry point into the world of classic Chevelles, and it's still a cool and unique car in its own right. Overall, this 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle seems like a solid choice for anyone looking for a classic American car with a ton of history and original features. It may need some work to get it back to its former glory, but that's all part of the fun of owning a classic car. And with just 48,000 original miles and a clean title in hand, you can be sure that you're getting a car with a ton of potential. 14. We've got a real treat for you, a 1965 AMC Rambler Marlin that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $8,200, and let me tell you, it's a lot of car for the money. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Rambler has just 68,385 original miles on the odometer, which is incredibly low for a car that's over 50 years old. That means this car has been well cared for and cherished by its previous owners, and it shows. Under the hood, you'll find a 232 straight-six engine that runs great. The seller has recently replaced the radiator, hoses, thermostat, and water pump, so you can be sure that this car is ready to hit the road. And with 4 new tires, you'll have plenty of grip and traction no matter where you go. The body of this Rambler is in excellent condition, with clean, older paint that still looks decent. All 4 windows work, and the car has its original rims, hubcaps, and hood ornament. The dash is in great condition too, which is a testament to how well this car has been preserved over the years. Inside, the original upholstery is still in place, although the seller notes that it may be time for an update. The foam seats are still firm though, so you'll be comfortable on even the longest drives. And if you want to listen to some tunes while you cruise, there's an added radio under the dash that won't affect the original AM/FM unit. Now, let's talk about the rarity of this car. The AMC Rambler Marlin was only produced for a few years in the mid-1960s, and it's not a car that you see very often. With its unique fastback styling and classic American muscle car look, this Rambler is sure to stand out from the crowd wherever you go. Of course, as with any classic car, there are a few things to keep in mind. The seller notes that there are no trades accepted, so you'll need to have cash in hand if you want to make an offer. And while the car is in excellent condition overall, there may be some minor issues or quirks that come with owning a 50-year-old vehicle. But overall, this 1965 AMC Rambler Marlin seems like an incredible find for any classic car enthusiast. With its low mileage, excellent condition, and rare styling, it's a car that's sure to turn heads and start conversations wherever you go. And at just $8,200, it's a bargain compared to what you might pay for a similar car at an auction or dealership. 15. We've got a real gem for you, a 1984 Chevrolet Cavalier convertible that's sure to turn heads and make you the talk of your local cars and coffee meetup. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $7,200, and let me tell you, it's a steal at that price. First off, let's talk about what makes this Cavalier so special. It's got a 5-speed manual transmission, which is a real rarity for a car of this era. That means you'll have full control over the car's performance, and you'll be able to really feel the road beneath you as you drive. And speaking of performance, this Cavalier has the F41 suspension package, which means it's tight and responsive in the corners. But it's not just about the driving experience. This Cavalier is a real-time capsule in terms of its appearance. The body is in beautiful original condition, with no major dents or dings to speak of. It's even got the original Chevy Star wheels, which are a real throwback to the 80s. And with its metallic brown paint job, this car is sure to stand out from the crowd. Inside, the cocoa fabric interior is in excellent shape, with no major wear or tear to speak of. And with power windows and a power convertible top, you'll be able to enjoy the sun and the breeze with ease. Plus, with brand new tires and excellent brakes, you can feel confident and safe behind the wheel. Under the hood, the engine is strong and the clutch is smooth, making for a really enjoyable driving experience. And with excellent fuel mileage, you won't have to worry about breaking the bank every time you fill up the tank. But perhaps what's most impressive about this Cavalier is its rarity. The seller notes that it was special ordered with all of these options, making it the absolute top-of-the-line model for 1984. From the upgraded suspension, to the alloy wheels, to the manual transmission, this car has all the bells and whistles that you could want. And with its vintage status, it qualifies for antique plates and insurance, making it a real collector's item. Of course, as with any classic car, there may be some minor issues or quirks to be aware of. But overall, this Cavalier seems to be in excellent condition, both inside and out. And with its unique combination of features and options, it's sure to be a hit wherever you go. So if you're in the market for a fun, stylish, and rare classic car, this 1984 Chevrolet Cavalier convertible is definitely worth a closer look. With its manual transmission, tight suspension, and beautiful original condition, it's a car that's sure to bring a smile to your face every time you get behind the wheel. And at just $7,200, it's a bargain compared to what you might pay for a similar car at an auction or dealership. 16. We've got a real treat for you. A 1979 Chrysler Cordoba that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $3,500 or best offer. And let me tell you, it's a lot of car for the money. First off, let's talk about the history of this Cordoba. It's a California car that was previously owned by an old lady, which means it's been well cared for and cherished over the years. The seller notes that it's all original and has matching numbers, which is a real rarity for a car of this age. Under the hood, you'll find a 360 cubic inch V8 engine that runs strong and smooth. The seller doesn't provide any specifics on the engine's condition or recent maintenance, but they do note that the car runs well overall. And with its rear-wheel drive layout, this Cordoba is sure to be a blast to drive on the open road. The exterior of the car is finished in a beautiful blue paint that's sure to catch the eye of anyone who sees it. The seller doesn't mention any major dents, dings, or rust issues, which is a good sign for a car that's over 40 years old. And with its classic Cordoba styling, including the iconic front grille and rounded headlights, this car is sure to turn heads wherever you go. Inside, the Cordoba has all the luxury features you'd expect from a high-end Chrysler of the era. The seller doesn't provide any details on the condition of the interior, but from the photos, it looks to be in good shape overall. And with its moon roof, you'll be able to enjoy the sun and the breeze as you cruise down the road. Now let's talk about the price. $3,500 is a really fair asking price for a car like this, especially considering its rarity and overall condition. Of course, the seller is open to best offers, so there may be some room for negotiation if you're serious about making this Cordoba yours. One thing to keep in mind is that the seller doesn't provide a ton of details on the car's mechanical condition or recent maintenance history. That's not necessarily a red flag, but it does mean that you'll want to ask some follow-up questions and probably schedule an in-person inspection before making an offer. Overall, this 1979 Chrysler Cordoba seems like a solid choice for anyone in the market for a classic American luxury car. It's got a strong V8 engine, a beautiful blue paint job, and all the luxury features you'd expect from a high-end Chrysler of the era. And with its California history and old lady ownership, you can be sure that it's been well cared for over the years. 17. All right, let's dive a little deeper into this 1975 Mercury Cougar XR7. The XR7 was the top-of-the-line model for the Cougar, and it came packed with features like a deluxe interior, a sportier suspension, and some serious style. This particular car has a rebuilt motor with under 50,000 miles, which is definitely a selling point. It suggests that someone has put some serious work into this car, and that's always a good sign. Now, the seller does mention that the car needs an alternator, but they also claim that once that's fixed, it'll run like a dream. If that's true, then this could be a really great find. However, it's important to keep in mind that when you're buying a car on Craigslist, you don't always know the full story. It's possible that there are other issues with the car that the seller hasn't mentioned, so it's crucial to get a thorough inspection before you make any decisions. Another thing to consider is the missing title status. This could be a red flag, as it might indicate that there are some legal issues with the car. It's possible that the seller doesn't have the proper paperwork, or that there are other problems that they're not disclosing. If you're serious about this car, you'll definitely want to do some research and make sure that everything is on the up and up. All that being said, there's no denying that this 1975 Mercury Cougar XR7 has a lot of potential. It's a classic car with a rebuilt motor, no rust, and a price tag that's not too shabby. If you're willing to put in some work and do your due diligence, this could be a really great project car. Just be sure to go into it with your eyes open and your head on straight. At the end of the day, buying a car on Craigslist is always a bit of a gamble. But if you're a car enthusiast who loves a good project, this 1975 Mercury Cougar XR7 might just be worth taking a chance on. Who knows? With a little bit of elbow grease and some TLC, you could be cruising down the road in a classic piece of American muscle in no time. 18. We've got a real blast from the past. A 1963 Chevrolet 2 Nova sedan that's looking for a new home. This classic beauty is priced at just $6,000. And let me tell you, it's got a story that'll make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. According to the seller, this Nova was owned by the same woman from 1963 until her passing in 1992. That's right, folks. This is a genuine grandma spec car, and you know what that means. It's been well loved and taken care of over the years, and it's got a charm that you just can't find in newer models. After the original owner passed away, the car was hidden away in a barn in Woodburn until 2022, when the current seller bought it and started bringing it back to life. They've put in a lot of work to make it a reliable daily driver, including adding some recent parts and giving it some much-needed TLC. Now I'm going to be straight with you. This car isn't perfect. The seller admits that it burns a little oil and leaks a little oil, but hey, that's to be expected with a car of this age. It's got some light patina and a few whiskey dents, but overall, it's in really nice shape. One of the things that really stands out about this Nova is how solid it is. The floors, rockers, and trunk corners are all in great condition, and the seller says it's very nearly rust-free. That's a big deal for a car that's almost 60 years old. Under the hood, you'll find a 194 straight-six engine and a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission. This is the kind of classic setup that you just don't see very often anymore, and it's sure to put a smile on your face every time you get behind the wheel. The seller also notes that everything works on this car. The doors open and close nicely, the windows roll up and down easily, and it runs and drives great. It's got a current registration and a clean title in the seller's name, so you won't have to worry about any paperwork headaches. Overall, this 1963 Chevrolet 2 Nova sedan seems like a really great find. It's got a ton of character, a solid body, and a history that'll make you feel like you're part of something special. If you're looking for a classic car that you can drive every day and show off to your friends, this might just be the one for you. Of course, as with any old car, there are going to be some things that need attention, but if you're willing to put in a little work and give this Nova the love it deserves, you'll have a real gem on your hands. 19. We're taking a closer look at a 1971 Buick LeSabre that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $14,500. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of dough for an old car. But trust me, once you hear about this beauty, you'll understand why it's worth every penny. First of all, let's talk about the mileage. This LeSabre has only 44,000 original miles on it. That's right, folks, 44,000 miles. That's practically nothing for a car that's over 50 years old. And according to the seller, it's a one-family-owned vehicle that's been garaged its entire life. That means it's been well loved and taken care of, and it shows. But the low mileage isn't the only thing that makes this car special. It's also an all-original Southwest desert car, which means it's never seen a muddy gravel road or salt. That's a big deal when it comes to classic cars, because it means there's no rot or rust to worry about. And let's be honest, there's nothing worse than a rusty old car. Under the hood, you'll find a factory big block 455 cubic inch engine that's numbers matching. That means it's the original engine that came with the car, and it's a real powerhouse. The seller says it runs perfectly, with no leaks, drips, ticks, knocks, or smoke. And the transmission? It shifts like new, according to the seller. But the engine isn't the only thing that's impressive about this car. The interior is also in amazing condition, with clean carpets and everything in working order. The exterior is wearing its original paint, and the bumpers and chrome are super nice. It's the kind of car that turns heads wherever it goes. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical about buying a car sight unseen, but the seller seems like a straight shooter. He's upfront about the fact that he doesn't have a smartphone and prefers calls over texts. And he's got a good reason for selling the car. It belonged to an elderly retired military doctor who took great pride in ownership. Overall, this 1971 Buick LeSabre seems like a real gem. It's a numbers-matching, low-mileage, all-original car that's been well-maintained and loved its entire life. And at $14,500, it's a fair price for a piece of automotive history. If you're a wise individual or an investor looking for a classic car that's as close to new as you'll ever see, this might just be the one for you. Of course, as with any old car, there are always risks involved. But based on the seller's description and the photos provided, this LeSabre looks like it's in excellent condition. And if you're the kind of person who appreciates the craftsmanship and style of a bygone era, this car is definitely worth a closer look. 20. We've got a real treat for you. A 1969 Ford Thunderbird that's up for grabs on Craigslist for just $14,000. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a lot of money for an old car. But trust me, once you hear about all the work that's gone into this beauty, you'll understand why it's worth every penny. First of all, let's talk about the engine. This T-Bird is rocking a 429 cubic inch V8 with fuel injection. That's a lot of power under the hood, and according to the seller, it runs and drives like a dream. But the engine isn't the only thing that's been worked on. The transmission has been rebuilt, along with the timing chain, suspension, and brakes. And if that wasn't enough, the car also has a new gas tank and a clean interior. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If this car is so great, why is it only 80% complete? Well, the seller is upfront about the fact that the car needs a paint job and some minor body work. But here's the thing. They've got a ton of extra parts ready to go, including 2 front fenders and front and rear bumpers. And with all the records and receipts of the work that's been done, you'll know exactly what you're getting into. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, the gas mileage. The seller admits that this car passes everything but a gas station, which is a clever way of saying that it's not exactly fuel efficient. But let's be real. If you're in the market for a classic car like this, you're probably not too worried about your carbon footprint. Overall, this 1969 Ford Thunderbird seems like a solid investment for the right buyer. It's got a powerful engine, a rebuilt transmission, and a whole lot of potential. And with all the extra parts and documentation included, you'll have a roadmap for finishing the restoration and making this car truly shine. Of course, as with any classic car, there are always risks involved. The seller doesn't mention anything about rust or other potential issues, so you'll want to give this T-Bird a thorough inspection before making an offer. And with a price tag of $14,000, it's not exactly an impulse buy. But if you're a serious car enthusiast with a love for classic American muscle, this 1969 Ford Thunderbird might just be the project car of your dreams. It's got all the right ingredients: a big engine, a solid foundation, and a whole lot of character. And with a little bit of elbow grease and some TLC, you could have a real head turner on your hands.